Welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking time today to learn more about how Pizza Hut franchises can benefit from outsourced accounting. I'm Bruce Belvin, founder and CEO at OneDataSource, and today we'll be joined by David Tucker, who's the president of Client Advisory Services at Thomas Judy and Tucker, based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll allow David to introduce himself and his company in just a moment once I go through a couple of housekeeping items. With respect to everybody's time, we won't take more than 25 minutes for the presentation. We'll also have time for live Q&A at the end. So we do encourage you to ask questions. You can submit them in the chat. And we want to make sure that you walk away with as much value as possible from your time. And then we are recording the webinar, so we'll be sure to send the recording out by Tuesday of next week to all registered participants. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to either mine or David's email directly, or Tucker will also be participating in the webinar today. And then we look forward to presenting to yourself the ways that we can strengthen your Pizza Hut operations and outsourcing and accounting, and help you any way that we can through that. So next slide, we're going to cover the impact outsourcing accounting can have for a Pizza Hut operator. David's going to share the core benefits of outsourcing accounting, and he'll also touch on TJT's approach to serving multi-unit operators. And then we'll share a few details on OneDataSource's role as it relates to the accounting functions. And then we'll close out by answering your questions. And again, feel free to put questions in the chat as we go through the webinar today. So David, I'll hand off for you there. Next slide.
Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm David Tucker. We started the firm in 1990. We've grown to a staff of 250 employees. We started outsourced accounting in 1996 with a local Papa John's pizza franchise, doing all the accounting functions that you think that we need. We do over 15 major brands accounting outsourcing for them, and a lot of regional brands as well. We started Pizza Hut's probably 7 years ago with a group and it's grown to several groups now doing the accounting for the Pizza Hut groups. We are a CPA firm, so being a CPA firm, we're required to have annual peer reviews. So when we do the financial statements, we do issue a compilation report that you can forward to the bank. Sometimes the banks will allow that and eliminate the need for review and audit. Kind of depends on the banking relationship or what the covenants read. But so we have 125 staff doing the restaurant accounting for our clients. Next slide. So I want to kind of go through some of the cost savings, some of the areas that you'd want to know that would be beneficial to outsourcing. We started this business, it really came out of a client's need. They were in some sort of pain point. They were not getting good accounting from either another provider or internal accounting. And so that's how our business evolved, by solving problems for people and let them focus on their business and not the accounting. The cost savings, avoid the expense of hiring and training. This has been over the last 5 years a big part for what we do, why we're growing so much, because there's a shortage of accountants, shortage of good accountants, and there's fewer CPAs in the wings than ever before in the United States. So it's been difficult to find accountants. We're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're fortunate to have a lot of people moving here from all over. And so we've been really blessed having opportunity to hire people that want to come to Raleigh from other locations. So it allows us to really hire our people. And if you're hiring people, you have to vet them. We do all that. We know how to vet accountants because we're a bunch of accountants. We hire accountants that like to work for accountants. So we do a lot of cross training. Turnover for us is pretty low because we can give them a place to move up. We'll hire someone that may come in as a senior staff and they can move all the way up to a manager, senior manager, and owner one day. So we tend to have good retention because there's a path, kind of an in-accounting staff and internally, where can they grow? And so we do have retention because of that reason. Also, the fact that we are an outsourced accounting firm, we can get software at a preferred pricing. And so for you to buy software, you're going to pay more than maybe someone like us, so we can get the pricing because we are providing service to multiple clients. And so it's expensive these days. I mean, we're going from hosted solutions like cloud versions, and the licensing fees, as you know, are going up year after year. So that's expensive. You have to maintain the software. And so we try to stay in front of that curve, and we constantly look for better products to serve our clients. Employee benefits, that's something else that's gone up. The accounting salaries of the last 3-4 years have gone up close to 20-25% because of shortage of good accountants. So, those are things that outsourcing can save you from a cost savings. There's more associated with that as well. Retention is something that's lack of retention of employees is very expensive, training people up. So, it allows us to kind of provide you that accounting staff through our company without worrying about retaining the employees or training them. And so that burden comes on us. So there again, it's a cost savings, not only dollars, but also time. Next slide. So access to expertise. We're doing this since 1996, and we've developed good process procedures, to be able to eliminate errors. And if you're bringing on accounting staff, you kind of live and die by their experience. With us, we have a lot of accountants and a lot of experience in different brands. We tend to hire talent when we see it. And so with us doing it, there's no trial and error. We've already vetted the process procedure, especially the Pizza Hut group. We've been doing it for over 7 years now, so we know the processes pretty well. I have a partner, David Harris, who kind of heads up the Pizza Hut group. He and his team handle the day-to-day, and he has different levels. So we'll have an owner, senior account manager, coordinator. So we have different levels. And so it allows us then to cross-train staff. When you do become a client of ours, you will get a dedicated team. We don't have people that sit there and just do accounts payable across the board. You get a team that will know your account really well. We cross-train, so a person does AP, may also do bank recs, may also do some work papers. So they learn your business, not just one component, but they'll learn the whole balance sheet. So when they continue to move up, they have skills that will allow you to provide a better product for you. And getting your financial statements timely, get valuable insights of financial matters. Getting financials 2, 3, 4 months late, too late. You can't make decisions that quick. So what we do is we do a lot of work throughout the month. So we get to end the month. We're not doing a lot of work like bank recs. For example, we'll do deposit verifications. We'll do bank recs daily. So when we give you a preliminary statement between 5 and 7 business days, depending on what your request is and other things that might affect that cutoff, like AP cutoff, we want to reconcile the bank account. And so we're a fan of giving you a financial statement that we've already done work papers, that we tied out the accounts that matter. So when you get it, so your preliminary is pretty clean. Then it comes down to asking questions about what is this? And so providing timely financials, accurate financials, allows us to help you with better insight of financial matters and seeing trends. I'm a big trend person. So if I give you a trend P&L, we're going to point things out that, hey, we're seeing a trend, you need to look at this. Or there's missing bills, and so we accrue it and then let you know that we've not received that bill yet. Utilities are a good example. So we do a lot of utility accruals, and we know what to expect. And so kind of having that expertise and knowing what the P&L should look like. I'm big on managing by expectation. I expect the P&L to read this way. If it doesn't, we got to find out why. And so having all that information and our expertise gives you, improved decision making. Like I said, if you get your financial statements more than 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, you've already lost probably 4, 5, 6 weeks of making decisions to make some improvements in cash flow. So hopefully you'll see, if you come to work with us, you'll see your expertise will give you better information and give you opportunity to make more timely, accurate financial decisions. Next slide. Scalability, that's something that I've talked to many clients over the years as they, add on concepts or grow, we can scale up. As well as if there's a downturn, if they unload 10 or 15 units for reasons, and we can then reduce the hours, reduce our fees. If you have in-house staff, you pretty much you staff up, you don't have to lay people off, and so that's a problem. We take that burden of hiring and terminating from you by having the ability. We're very scalable. We can move people around. I would say 90% of our employees in the Raleigh office. The other 10% are people that have been with us for a while that have moved for various reasons. Spouses got transferred that we keep them on board, but 90% of our staff are in the office, and their office pretty much every day. We found that that works best for managing and overseeing the work. So that allows us to be, being outsourcing, you're very agile and responsive to business conditions. As I said, if you have to, downsize or grow quickly, we have the resources. And we do have a onboarding team that all they do is onboard and offboard clients. And so if we do get a new client, you'll be assigned the onboarding team for at least 3 months. They will work with a previous provider and with Bruce's team to kind of get the transition to happen. So when you, get the tell us that, hey, we're going to buy 20 more in 30 days, we're able to move pretty quickly. And that's difficult if you have an in-house accounting staff, where you're going to have to staff up pretty quickly, and that'd be difficult to find people in 30 days these days. Which kind of talks about the ups and downs, hiring and firing. And that's one thing that we generally get a phone call saying that, hey, we're having difficulty with our current provider, or we can't keep people, or I'm losing my controller. And so having us do that makes you be able to avoid the burden of hiring and firing and staffing up and reducing staff when you need to. So scalability of outsourcing is really beneficial. Next slide. Which kind of plays into refocusing your team. When we bring on a potential client, we like to know who your players are internally. And there could be some staff that are doing work that may not be the best use of their time. One client had 2 people that worked in the office, and they were kind of doing accounting, but they're also doing other things for the field. And so us coming on board allowed them to really focus on more things that impact the bottom line than sitting there and coding invoices and that kind of stuff. So it does unburden some of your staff to do other things that may be more advantageous to the business growth. It goes back to refocusing your time on core business. Most of you guys don't know accounting. So how do you manage accountants? Well, you have to have another accountant to manage it. So, your time's best spent trying to work in operations, improving the business and the sales and the labor cost and so forth. And so we take that burden off you, and we focus on the day-to-day accounting, so you focus on your business, which allows you to grow quicker, not having to worry about how we're going to be able to have the back office to be able to support a growth. Having us with our onboarding team allow you to grow quickly, kind of lets you kind of grow your business to a good pace. So the next slide, you'll see, I believe, the kind of products we do use, but we're constantly looking at process and procedures. When we met up with Bruce about 7 years ago, we were aware of OneDataSource, and we got involved with him through the Pizza Hut client that we just received. And we've learned a lot about, improving process procedures for them, but also having the tools that OneDataSource provides. It allows us to really take advantage of AI. That's something we've done a lot in the last several years, and it'll continue to improve. But at the end of the day, you still have someone needs to look at the information and make sure it is accurate. So you can't rely on AI to do everything right. You still need that oversight. But we're constantly looking at ways to improve third-party reconciliation, positive verifications, all that processes. We're kind of looking at ways to expedite the process with more efficient tools and less staff. Because we enter the time in daily, we enter, the sales daily, the deposit information, it's access to real-time data. So you'll see your sales in our general ledger, each day, and you'll see deposit verifications and bank recs. So when you pull up your access to your Sage Intacct, you'll see the data in there. So it'll be real time, and we can run reports at any time throughout the month to see where you are. So having that real-time data and access to that information really helps you manage your business more efficiently. So this is kind of our approach to how we do our work. And really what we do is every client's different. Even every Pizza Hut group's different. They may have different knowledge of accounting, different structure. Sometimes you get a group and they'll have one entity and all the entities under one balance sheet, one P&L. Sometimes you have different owners, and it requires to have complexity of different balance sheets and different P&Ls. And some people process things differently. So we customize our services to meet the client's needs. We're not cookie cutter. So when we meet with you, we kind of talk about here's a service that we provide. What do you need? And then we customize our engagement letters to meet what your current needs are, as well as tell you, hey, this is what we can do if things change. So you see these circles. The middle one is Sage Intacct. That's the accounting software that we use for general ledger, financial reporting, bank recs, deposit verifications, all of our reporting. That's the hub of everything we do. And to the right, you see OnePAY, which Bruce will sure talk more about. That's the OnePAY feature we use for inventory processing, payments reporting. That interface is right in with Sage Intacct. OneVIEW to your left is how we data extract the information from the point of sale inventory. They would then provide a lot of reporting for you, but that data goes back and forth between the OneVIEW product and ours. So it's seamless and allows for better real-time information, allows us to provide better products for you and get the statements to you as quick as possible. And the top left is controller duties. A few of our clients do not have controllers, and so we'll step in that role if there's need. If they have a controller in place, we work with that controller and kind of bring it all together. We like to take a partnership approach. We like to work with everybody, and we want to be part of your team. And so you have a controller, then we'll engage them pretty heavily. They'll be really engaged with the Sage Intacct product, and our team will work with that person pretty closely. But if you don't have one, if you need some assistance, we can provide that as well. Payroll is something that we also offer. It's not something that when I started this, I would do a lot of payroll, but it's a need. And so we started doing payroll years ago, but we started working with UKG through the Pizza Hut groups. And so we use UKG for our larger concepts, and we contract with them. And so they do the payroll, tax filing, and HR management. And sometimes you have an HR team, sometimes you don't. So we'll work with you. If you have an HR team and they want to be using the UK product, it allows us to give you access to that. So your HR team can work through the UKG product. So we can do the payroll and you can do the payroll, but we can work. And so you see the HR services. So we can develop these services for you depending on what your needs are. So some clients would use all the services. Sometimes they're partial. Like I said, we customize these products because we just think it's best to meet the client's needs and become part of your group. So that's kind of what we do. And I think that's all I have to say. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, David. So at this point, I'm going to let Tucker take everyone through how our solutions help operators build a comprehensive data strategy. He'll take you through centralizing and standardizing data to unlock full potential. So Tucker, welcome to the group.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce, and thank you, David, for the years of partnership and the cool explanation of what y'all do. So we really view ourselves as facilitators in a lot of ways, and we provide two applications that are used commonly by accounting departments, whether that's a franchisee that manages all their accounting in-house, or they look to a firm like TJT to provide the support. So if you're looking at this screen on the left side, we're describing what our oneVIEW application does, and I think the best way to think about this is it's a data warehouse that is the collection point for all of the critical data, all the primary systems a franchisee uses, that we can warehouse that data and then start to format it and present it back to every department at a franchisee's organization, to all the stakeholders in a manner that's as efficient and useful as possible. So it's really everything's predicated on our ability to pull and integrate with the point of sale and the back of house system. So in Pizza Hut, Soup, and FMS, we certainly had some restaurant stores now, majority of which have migrated back. But as everybody in the brand will be aware right now, there's hot schedules is being implemented, and so it's the point of sale, the back of house systems like hot schedules, anything that's housing data around sales, labor, inventory, etc. We integrate and facilitate the movement of data to a number of vendors in the ecosystem, whether that's security or earned wage access or daily pay or driver tip solutions. We integrate with all of the major players in that respect. We also consume data from the voice of the customer, and we also integrate with our clients' banks and their credit card processors. The idea is to have a comprehensive set of data, and then we can use that for multiple purposes. For the purposes of this discussion, it's really about making sure the data moves into the systems that Thomas, Judy, and Tucker need, that their people need to be able to do their jobs. So getting all the data collected, formatted, and moved into Sage Intacct and moved into UKG, and providing visibility to David Tucker's team so they can communicate effectively with the franchisees, with the clients. And it's also about making sure they're getting the data they need and they're not spending their time doing data entry, right? They're spending their time doing analysis and providing professional services. We handle the data entry. The other part of what OneVIEW does is it's delivering really context and content rich reporting for operators. You can get performance metrics and reports out of a point of sale, but if you can combine that data with the voice of the customer data and weather data, and you have the ability to view transaction level data and granularly move in and look at the video, you can get a whole lot more context, a whole lot more content, and make better decisions as operators based off that data. So that's the job at OneVIEW. It touches every department in an organization, and the goal is to collect and warehouse all the data necessary to run operations as efficiently and as compliantly as possible. And then let's move that data to the professionals that manage the home office or the outsourced version of the home office as accurately and as timely as possible. So they're spending their time, using their expertise and not spending their time on data entry. The other side of this infographic, it describes our OnePAY application. And this is also a critical part about when it comes to supporting Thomas, Judy, and Tucker. OnePAY collects all of our clients' invoices. It parses all of the data off of those invoices. It applies business rules that we design in conjunction with our clients for coding practices and managing the approval of those invoices and providing reporting and visibility into what is hitting the P&L for operators to review on a weekly basis and manage. But again, what we're doing is we're giving David Tucker and his team the information they need in an automated manner so they can get the invoices approved. They can handle any disputes or any issues with their clients that need to be any issues that need to be remedied, and they're doing it without having to spend their time on data entry. And they're getting this data in a timely manner, and this is all about helping them close the books as quickly as possible, so that the franchisees can evaluate their performance, have indications, have the data they need to make decisions about how they're performing and where they either need to reinforce positive behaviors or make corrections, and at the end of the day be as profitable as possible. So that's what we're representing on this chart here. We really view our job as facilitating ops leadership and facilitating the accounting and payroll leadership by making sure they have accurate data as quickly as possible in as automated and optimized process as possible. And then we give them the tools for if they need to make changes. And then, this is viewed through the lens of ongoing process improvement. There's always technologies being developed and introduced to our ecosystem, and our role as consultants and experts in this area is to work hand in hand with David and his team, and then with the operators at our clients to look for ways. How can we make a report more meaningful and more useful to the people that are making decisions based off it, or how can we improve a process? And that work never stops. And so that's really the role we play. I covered a lot of this already, but the value is normalizing sales and labor and transaction data across a whole bunch of disparate systems. Same with inventory data. We want to include the bank data so that any exceptions or loss prevention metrics are quickly viewed and action can be taken. Same thing goes for credit card. We want to help with the expediting the reconciliation process. And I think maybe the best example of tying all this together and how an operator can put this to good use is in a scorecard. The most common practice you'll see today is scorecards get put together at the end of each period, and they inform team members of whether or not they met the standards for receiving bonus, and they'll show them the categories where they either excelled or fell short. Well, what we've seen, and the data really bears this out, if you can do this proactively, if you can proactively send a scorecard every week that shows managers where they stand relative to bonus and gives them an opportunity to course correct or reinforce the behaviors that are leading to the bonus, you're going to have higher performing stores. The main limitation to being able to do this proactively is just the time and labor it takes to take 6 or 7 different data points from 6 or 7 different sources of data and build it into a report that can be digested and distributed, or distributed and digested. Well, that's exactly what OneVIEW does. It pulls in all the data necessary from all the different sources, puts it into a meaningful report format that's easy to review, and puts that information out into the manager's hands so they can do what's necessary to make bonus. And the cumulative effect over this over time is huge. It's and invariably companies that use this as a best practice, they reap the benefits. For the above store leaders, it's loss prevention is a high priority for everybody, and in many cases, franchisees come to us looking for solutions on loss prevention. So that's a huge piece. But all of the daily and weekly ops reporting supports those same managers. It's making sure they have the data they need when they need it. So stores, if a store's not running right, that we've got visibility into that, and we can help provide our franchisees that, and they can make the corrections they need to. Again, accounting departments without a solution like OnePAY are typically going to be overstaffed. Those teams are going to be overworked, and the process is going to be slow, with less visibility than it could if you had a proper data capture engine in place. I mean, we've got metrics that show organizations where they used to have a staff of 9 or 10 doing manual data entry in order to make the accounts payable process run on time, can now do that with 2 people. And those are team members they can then assign to doing other tasks that are more analytical and more valuable in nature. The idea is we capture the data automatically using the technology. We can write custom business rules to manage how that invoice moves, both from a coding standpoint and from an approval standpoint. And then you're putting the reports in the manager's hands so they can see what's hitting the P&L. They can challenge or raise questions where necessary, but they're not having to spend hours of their week reviewing and approving invoices. The technology can do that. They just need oversight. And finally, we've dealt with a number of organizations that are stuffing thousands of checks at great cost, both from a labor and from material standpoint. The technology exists to eliminate that completely. There's opportunities for organizations to earn significant rebates using virtual card programs, which are the most secure, most efficient way to pay a bill. Second to that would be using ACH technology to issue electronic payments. The last thing any organization should be doing is stuffing checks in an envelope. We recognize you still have to have the ability to write a check now and then, but that should be the smallest possible percentage of the payments you make. And really, I think every organization owes it to themselves to do the due diligence on virtual cards as a payment method, because it's far and away the most secure, most efficient way to do it. And these companies that are developing these technologies are offering attractive rebate programs. So we've done the groundwork, we've done the legwork to get integrated with those things so that we can offer those solutions to our clients. And then the last piece of that is making sure all that data moves cleanly to the accounting team so that payments are processed, everything's recorded, and again, we're closing books on time. All right, well, Bruce, that kind of wraps up the our piece of how we support accounting and TJT. Oh, actually, we may have lost Bruce. Okay, so we're going to move on to some questions. We've got a few in the chat box, and David, I'll start with those, and then if any of you online want to add more, please feel free. All right, so David, obviously you might expect this one. The most commonly asked question is what are the fees for these services, and do you and your team put any parameters around number of units necessary for your pricing and or even to provide services?
So what we do customize the services. So, it's really, the pricing really depends on a lot of things. The number of units, the number of entities. Sometimes you have a group of 50 and they may have one entity for all 50. Well, the price per unit there is generally smaller than a group that has 50 restaurants that are in 4 or 5 entities, because then you have 4 or 5 balance sheets and maybe different ownership. So the questions we asked was how many entities that comprise all the units, and then we identify what level of service you want us to provide. Like I said, we look at your current situation and say, hey, if this is working, let's leave it alone. If you're happy with your payroll provider, there's no reason to change. I only change things that need to be changed. And so we customize it. We look to see what service you want, and then we do give you a price per range. And a lot of times we'll give you, if you're in a growth mode, maybe it's a price for the first 50 and then 50 to 75 to 100. So we do, give you some economy of scale as you add more units. But it's definitely we customize it based on the structure of your entity and the components of your balance sheet and so forth.
All right, great. And can you share a little bit about how that sort of compares with what people would expect to find in this space in the industry for those services?
Well, that's a loaded question these days, because there's prices all over the place. So we try to be, we don't want to be the least expensive, but not also the most expensive. We want to make sure you give good value. And so we look at, because we do have people assigned to your account. So we want to make sure the work's done correctly. And so our fees are, I think, comparable to other groups, but maybe a little more where you see the value. A good example is if, we do daily deposits, verifications, and daily bank recs. We don't wait till after the period ends and do it later. So we spend some time up front. So, but we know we got to be competitive, but anytime we're not competitive, it's because there's some additional service that you want us to provide that will add value to your operations.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love this next question. And so how do you measure success of your relationships, David?
If I look back at the clients that we currently have, the ones that I think successful, the ones that we feel like we're part of their team and they're part of our team. We want staff that truly care about their clients' performance and the people. And so we tell our team, get to know your client, get to know their business so you can add value. And so we've had clients 15, 20 years, and it's because the staff really engaged with the clients and vice versa. So our successes are getting information timely, accurately, and time, and then have relationships. So when they do call, I'll get a call from a client I've had, 20 years about something not even county related. So we want to be your business partner. I think that comes with being a CPA firm. CPAs generally like to solve people's problems. So if we're genuine about it and the clients know that we care, and then they'll share with us, and it makes us a better provider for and a better teammate.
I love that answer, and it mirrors the one that I want to give. And I think that what you just described about your team and the relationships you have with your customers is the reason that our partnership with you has been as successful and really easy as it has, right? I think what we found in TJT when we started collectively supporting clients together is a group of people that take the same approach. And so, when I think about measuring success in our relationships, it's exactly that. I look at the clients, and there's a lot of our clients that we've been with, 10 plus years. And in all those cases, I know that if you talk to those people, they view us as an embedded part of their team, right? We do these daily functions that are a way for measure you sort of the daily efficiencies and the activities we do that are the sort of the tasks, the fundamental tasks we're hired for. But what it really is we become a trusted part of their team, and as technologies evolve, we're the first people they come to for questions and advice and getting some feedback on things that they want to do or challenges they want to solve. And that's just really cool. We end up going through, I mean, we've got clients we've been through, I mean, we've been through hundreds of transactions, acquisitions or selling stores, and been part of these growth of really successful, some of the best groups in this industry. Um, and they hired us to do these day in, day out things. But when you look back at it, we've been really embedded part of their team, and the people that are on the OneDataSource team that work with these folks day in, day out, they have great relationships, and I know you guys do too. And that's why I think it's been a really natural fit. And we don't ever have to question, and I don't think your people do either, like how any of us are going to react to anything the client needs. And sometimes that's telling them stuff that they don't necessarily want to hear, but it's the right, good advice. So thanks for that answer. Last question I've got here is just about the typical ramp up time. If someone's looking to engage with your team, how long does it take you to typically get something stood up and get them on a path to best practices?
Well, it depends. If we're bringing payroll on, generally it takes 3 months or 90 days. Without payroll, it could be between 45 and 60 days. If it depends on the complexity and how good the data. Generally, when we get involved, there's a reason why they're coming to us. If it's with an in-house accounting staff or another one, it kind of depends on how good is the balance sheet. And a lot of times we'll spend time during the onboarding process looking at the balance sheet and making recommendations and adjusting entries or trying to help the client reconcile that. But 90 days is generally what we do if we're bringing on the HR and payroll and accounting. But we set up an onboarding team, and we'll have weekly calls starting once the engagement letter is signed, weekly phone calls with the tasks that each party must do. And then we work through that. And once we get closer, then we'll have twice a week. And then so we go live, then we have recurring meetings for at least 30 days, and then every 2 weeks, and then it drops off once we feel like everybody is on page and onboarded correctly. So I would say 60 to 90 days, depending on whether payroll is something we're moving over. And so startup costs, generally we have more startup costs is generally the payroll side, because it depends if we're moving them from an existing UK provider to another one, or from an ADP or Paychex or something else. It's the data feeds and trying to get that right. And there may be some setup costs with that. The county, we don't normally do setup costs on the county side, because we're able to get the data and drop it in and work with the client on that. But the payroll side is where generally we have startup cost.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that. And on our end, I mean, we are so familiar with the systems at Pizza Hut. Our typical onboarding window that we will give a new client is 30 days. It often happens quicker than that, but 30 days for us to get all of our standards set up, the data flowing to where it needs to go and formatted in the right way. And so we're kind of as we mentioned earlier, we're a facilitator for David and his team. So we once we've got our services up and running, then they're in a position to take things to the next level. The last question that we had was just about hot schedules. Are we fully integrated with hot schedules? And the answer to that is yes. We've rolled that out. We've got stores that are going live on it now. We're working through our customer base, but yes, we are fully integrated with hot schedules. Some bunch of the other brands or names that we recognize within Pizza Hut. So Hot Schedules, NetSpend, Rain, Envision, Medallia, just to name a few that are pretty standard operating procedure for when we set up, we integrate those data sets. But I know Hot Schedules is top of mind for everybody right now as that rollout schedule is starting to happen. That's it from the questions that I see. But anyway, I guess that's a good place for us to wrap up. David, thank you again for the years of partnership and the great work that your team does. We really
Appreciate it.
we
Thanks a lot.
appreciate it.
Really appreciate the relationship as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll get this webinar, the recording edited and condensed down, and we'll get it distributed to the list of people that signed up. And our contact information will be on there as well. If we can help any of you answer any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you for your time.